Welcome to The Holistic Entrepreneur with success coach, holistic nurse practitioner, and best-selling author, Bonnie Groessl. Bonnie shares inspirational and enlightening content to educate, empower, and facilitate well-being while nurturing the mind-body-spirit connection. This boost of positive energy will help you manage stress and make the most of your life, allowing you to thrive in the new normal. Now, please welcome the host of The Holistic Entrepreneur, Bonnie Groessl.
Well, welcome everyone. This is Bonnie Groessl, your host here at The Holistic Entrepreneur. Now, today we're going to talk about something that we all have, inner wisdom. But more on that in just a moment. First, I want to let you know how grateful I am that you are sharing your valuable time with me. I so appreciate you. Whether you're listening to this when it's first aired or 3 years from now, it doesn't matter. It's still your time, and I know that's a valuable resource. So if this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you've tuned in before, welcome back. I hope that you find this will be another valuable episode with tips and insights to help you toward enhanced well-being. And I always want to remind you that the information presented here is educational, inspirational, and motivational in nature, but I always want you to just take what fits for you and simply let go of the rest. This show does not intend or imply to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment either. I always want to remind everyone of that little caveat before we begin. Now, the other thing that I always like to remind you to do when we start a show each week is to remind you to take a moment for you. To just stop what you're doing if you can, just for a moment, and just breathe. But pay attention to your breathing. Breathe with intention and notice your breath. As you breathe in and as you breathe out, just stop and take that moment just for you. Notice what a beautiful human being you are and how much you're loved and how wonderful life is for you. Even on a bad day, there's something to be grateful for. So I always want to remind you to just stop and notice. And maybe this is the only moment that you take for yourself today. But it's so important for your well-being. The more you can do this, the better. So little moments here or there, when you're waiting in line for something or you're whatever, in the middle of it, whatever. It doesn't take any extra equipment to just breathe, to just notice your breath. So I encourage you all to do that as much as you can. Now, remember to check out the show page before you leave. I always have links for you there, and you can always connect with me at bonniegroessl.com. And I would love to hear how it's going with you. So please post your progress or any questions you might have in the Facebook page, and that link is on the show page as well. Now, today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about your inner wisdom. Now, sometimes this is referred to as intuition, which I'm sure you've all heard about before. Now, everyone has intuition, but sometimes we just don't hear that inner voice, that inner wisdom speaking to us. It's there. We just don't necessarily hear it because we're not still enough to hear the answers. But we've all had those gut feelings, right? When you just get that pit in your stomach and you sense that something is not right. We've all had that experience. It's like a feeling that we can't really define, but it's telling us something. So intuition is housed in the part of the brain that remembers that we've been burned before by a certain situation or a decision we made in the past. And then this makes you fearful of making that same mistake twice. The spiritual side and explanation of intuition is that we're all gifted with inner guidance and wisdom. We're gifted with this when we come into this life. If we ask a question and we're still enough, we're quiet enough to hear the answer will come. All the answers are inside of us. Now, I believe there is something greater than ourselves, and most people probably do. Whatever greater power you believe in. Some call it God, Spirit, Creator, Buddha, the universe. There are so many names. Whatever name you give it, that energy of that greater power is really within you, not out there someplace else. It's inside of you. So if you ask for guidance and become still enough to hear the answer, it will be there. Now, it can be difficult for people to trust their intuition. I know I even struggle with this from time to time. That's one of the hardest things. For people, they think, oh, maybe I just want this to be true, and it's not really their intuition. But we all have this ability. So the messages from your inner wisdom may ask you to avoid something to protect you, right? But it will never, ever berate you or belittle you in the process. It's most likely, if you hear those things in your mind, it's most likely your inner critic, right? That little naysayer that metaphorically sits on your shoulder and yells at you and bullies you all the time. We all have that inner critic too, and sometimes the inner critic can be louder than our intuition, telling us that something won't work or we can't do it. So think of the inner critic as kind of that internal bully, if you will. And if that's what you're hearing, that's not your intuition. That's your ego and your inner critic. Now, your intuition is always there, whether you're aware of it or not. Intuition is difficult to exactly define, in roles in our life, but it plays a huge role in everybody's life. I mean, Steve Jobs said, for instance, that intuition is more powerful than intellect. Highly intuitive people listen to their inner voice and trust it. And that's sometimes difficult to do. But in order to make your best decisions, you need a balance of intuition that sort of serves to bridge the gap between instinct and then the reasoning or rational thinking. Intuitive people take the time to be still. So if you want to get in touch with your intuition, a little time alone may be the most effective way. Meditation, going for a walk in nature, a little solitude, those things can help with creative thinking and expressing, what you're working on, but it can also help you connect with your deepest inner wisdom. Intuitive people often practice mindfulness. Meditation and other mindfulness practices can be an excellent way to tap into your intuition, because mindfulness helps you filter out all that mental chatter so that you can weigh your options objectively. You can tune in to that intuition and ultimately make a decision that you can stand behind completely. So people who use their intuition notice and observe everything. The first thing to do is notice. And if you are a journaling person, keep a journal. Write it down and be mindful. And listen to your body. Intuitive people learn to tune into their bodies and heed those gut feelings that they have. It's telling them something. So have you ever started to feel sort of sick to your stomach when you knew that something was wrong or you couldn't really quite put your finger on it? You just had that feeling, that gut feeling? You understand that intuitions can cause physical sensations in the body. Our gut feelings are really those gut feelings for a reason. They're called that for a reason. It's that mind-body connection. Intuitive people connect deeply with others. That's the other thing. And they tend to be more empathetic. Mind reading can seem like, a fantasy stuff and pseudoscience, but it's actually something we do every day. It's called empathic currency. So social emotions like guilt and shame and pride and embarrassment can all be experienced by watching other people. Intuitive people pay attention to their dreams. Paying attention to your dreams is a way to get in touch with your mind's subconscious thinking process. Both dreams and intuition spring from that unconscious or subconscious realm, right? So if you begin to tap into that part of your mind by paying attention to your dreams, you'll be able to get more messages through your intuition. So at night when you're dreaming, you're receiving information from the subconscious or intuitive part of your brain. So if you have a question that you're struggling with or something that you need to make a decision on, go to bed with it. Think about that right as you fall asleep and let your dreams or your subconscious, whether you remember your dreams or it's just something that comes to you when you wake up, let it play out and let your intuition help you. Intuitive people really enjoy their downtime. And I do too, because it helps their intuition. I mean, few things suppress intuition as much as the constant busyness of life, multitasking and being on your phone all the time and all of that sort of thing. We're not always in tune to our intuition when we're doing other stuff. The problem is that we're simply too busy. So we get messages and warnings from our heart, but sometimes we're too busy to notice. So that downtime is important. Intuitive people mindfully let go of negative emotions because strong emotions, particularly negative ones, can cloud our intuition. Now, all emotions should be honored, are real and should be honored, but just don't live there. Because a lot of us feel that when we're out of sorts, we're just not ourselves when we're upset, and we're just off. And that's partly because we're disconnected from our intuition. Intuition can transform your life by helping you make better decisions. It can help you develop more empathy and choose the right path in your life. Now, identifying a difficult situation is challenging. You might feel anxious or bad in some way. Yet if you choose to ignore it for just now, just let it go for now, put it on the back burner and sleep on it. That feeling, sleeping on it, the answer or the solution will come. And when you wake up, you'll have a different perspective. It doesn't always happen, but I know it happens to me a lot. So if you are struggling with something, take it off the radar screen, set it on the shelf. Don't think about it, and then, go to sleep. And then when you wake up, it will be different. It'll look different. I do this when I write. If I write something, I never publish it right away. I always write it, then I let it sit there overnight, and then I look at it the next day. That's a good writing tip for people who do that, because you might go back and then change some things because there are things that your subconscious worked out overnight while you were sleeping. And, there's no decisions that really need to be made right away anyway. Usually you have time to just make a decision. So just put it on the shelf for a while and deal with it tomorrow. Paying attention to your body and listening more is key. So when you're about to make a tough decision, you might experience, some anxiety, and you're kind of worried about it, and maybe even discomfort. Sometimes these feelings manifest into other physical things like insomnia or even nausea. But if you pay attention to those signs, you'll find that you experience these same physical reactions because you're ignoring your inner voice. So only if you are still enough to listen closely will you be able to access that intuitive part of you. So one of the methods to awaken your intuition is to make sure your inner voice is heard. And meditation connects you with that inner part of you really well. So meditation is something, or just being still, or reflection, or whatever word you want to give it. It's being still enough to hear the answers. Bottom line is that you just need to be still enough to hear the answers. So your action step for this week is to notice. Notice those inner messages. Notice the gut feelings, the other sensations in your body, how you feel physically. If you're not sure about something, sleep on it. Don't have to make a decision right away. There are very few things that are a life and death situation that you have to make in the moment anyway. So this week I want you to just notice and listen to your inner voice, your inner wisdom. So until next time, I wish you health, happiness, and abundance. I want to thank you for joining me at the Holistic Entrepreneur Show today. I know that time is our most precious asset, and so I appreciate you spending your time with me. Now, my purpose is to be of the best service to this community. Whether it's your personal or your work life, I'm here to support you. The best place to get the latest scoop is at bonniegroessl.com. Everything is there. We can connect, and you'll find special offers and gifts that I have for you to help you attain the health, happiness, and abundance you deserve. And I encourage you to sign up for my monthly newsletter for more useful information and exclusive offers. The links are on the show page below. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the Holistic Entrepreneur Show on your favorite podcast directory so that you automatically receive the newest episode when it's released. Until next time, this is Bonnie Groessl, wishing you health, happiness, and abundance.